We are going live. 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 Oh, geez, you hear that? Shoot, I gotta stop that business. Hey, everybody, we are live and we are looking at how they buried Jesus, and we got Patricia with us.
Hey, who do we have
And-
with us tonight?
Hang on a minute.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna close this. And I need to go here. Look at that. Wow, that's not what I had in mind. Let's try that. Okay. Looking good. All right. Is it my imagination or is it almost 6:30? I've got like 6:28, 29, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So glad you all are here. Put this where you can see us. Okay. Well, happy Easter, everybody. It's coming up this Sunday.
Yep,
Yep. It's the Wednesday before Easter.
ready or not, here it comes.
So we got Monday, Thursday, tomorrow night. We got Good Friday. We got Holy Saturday. And then we've got Resurrection Sunday coming up this Sunday. And so I wanted to, Patricia, I had made a video that I want to show y'all. Patricia and I made a video a few months ago. And we were able to go to a place that has a replica of a first century Jewish tomb from Jerusalem. We call it the tomb next door over in Jerusalem because it's right next to Jesus's tomb and it's hidden behind a wall. I'll be taking you there, you know. Tide going in the creek don't rise sometime in October and show it to you. I want to go ahead and show the video, but I'm confused why people are slow getting here. But now that Mike is here, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm wondering maybe if we do need to turn that off because we're going to have sound when I turn on the video. So maybe if you could like
Mute it?
mute that maybe. Thank you. We've got some gospel playing in the background. Yellow Miguel.
Hey, can you see me?
No, but my eyes are closed.
No?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, because yeah, they just changed my they re-imaged my laptop and put a Windows 11 in. So
Oh,
yeah,
how's it working?
so I had to download Zoom just to be able to use it. So far not bad.
Hey, is Ian Whipple in Israel?
Huh?
Is Ian Whipple in Israel?
Yes.
He's here.
I know. He just told me he's there on contract.
Okay, so he's from he's texting from Israel. And
Hey, Ian.
Ian, if you're listening, man, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Is it live?
Yeah, he's on the chat on the live stream on Facebook, Owl Rock Group.
And you got it going live now?
Oh yeah, we're live, man.
All right.
Okay, let's watch this video. I realize that we've got some more people coming in. There's Bill Grubbs. Hey, man.
Hey, Bill. Hey, Mike.
Okay, y'all watch this video. Who else we got? Oh yeah, yes, I'm here with a company called Triple Canopy. Ian, where are you staying tonight? What city are you in? Are you down there in Tel Aviv somewhere, or did you go somewhere else? He'll get back to you.
I think it's Tel Aviv.
He's in Tel Aviv?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to share the screen right now. And we're going to do the video that I made with me and Patricia at this place in LaGrange. You're just not going to believe it, Mike. You're not going to believe it. Bill, you and Ian are not going to believe this. Here we go.
Okay.
Which one is it? It's this one. And the sound is on. All right, let's do this thing. And I'm going to play now. It starts right away with music and there trigger warning. There's a gunshot for a humorous effect near the beginning.
Hey there.
1, 2, 3, action!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here in LaGrange, Georgia,
Don't believe her.
at the Ancient Israel Biblical History Center, it says. I am really curious about
Patricia, I'm
what
curious
this
about.
tour is going to be about. I
We
mean,
have a tour?
we have a tour coming up and lunch, and I think it's a little mini Israel. So we didn't get to go to the Holy Land, not yet, but I think we're going to experience it today.
You think?
Today.
And you're worried about me keeping my mouth shut, right?
Yes,
She's very
because,
worried that I'm going to argue with them or point out that they're wrong.
yeah, anything
I
biblical.
promised her I wouldn't, but I'm not sure I can keep that
Well,
promise.
thank
I think
you. I
I'm
need
going to
you to
break out.
promise me again.
That you're not going to ask terrible questions, and if
What's a terrible question?
well, if the tour guide says something that's not biblical,
I just
you
keep
just
my
go
mouth
with it.
shut.
Keep your mouth
Keep my
shut,
mouth shut.
and just say, okay, thank you. That's interesting. Just go with the flow. You have a tendency not to know. Yes, can you do that? Well, I'll do it for you.
Call it Little Israel. Little Israel. L.I. We're going to L.I. live.
I'm going to call it Modern Evangelicals House of Horrors.
House of Horrors? Did you say
House
House
of
of Horrors? Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's what it's going to be. But we shall see.
But look at this sign. It says voted top 10 religious museums in the USA.
Well, I didn't tell Patricia, who's pretending to be a dead person in this tomb. I didn't plan to do this video, and I don't have a script or anything, and I probably won't be showing this until sometime around, I don't know, Easter or something like that. But I'm going to go inside of this is at LaGrange. We're at the this is the biblical history something. What's it called?
Biblical History Center.
There she is. She has arisen. She has arisen indeed.
She rose, hallelujah. Patricia arose.
So let's go in there and let's show them what it looks like on the inside of a first century tomb. We are really lucky to have this here. It's hard to do it with a PowerPoint presentation, but this is 3D now. Now imagine that Joseph of Arimathea had a new tomb, and that this is it. That's the rolling stone over there to that's the rolling stone right there. That's the opening to the outer part of the tomb right there. So we're going to crouch and go in. That's authentic. I've seen many of these tombs in Israel and other places around, mostly Jerusalem though. So what do we have here? The important thing to note is this center part, okay? So Patricia, could you rest your head on that rock right there? Just roll onto your back and rest your head on that rock.
Which one?
The little rock right there in front of you. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Like that. So Joseph of Arimathea, okay, Joseph of Arimathea, and who else? Nicodemus and the women came to the tomb, and they walked in down here, and they walked in and came through the opening, and then they came into this preparation area where you stood. I'm going to stand in the preparation area now, and you can see that it's shaped like a triclinium. You've actually got, let me turn this around. Okay, you've actually got one place here. Let me do a widescreen. Okay, you've got one table here for anointing the dead body and dressing the dead body. You've got another one here in front, and then you've got a third one here to the side. And behind each of these, you have 3 coquine. That's why they call this a coke tomb. So you have 3 here. And there's a body back in there. You slide the body back into it. Okay, it's a coke tomb. So you anoint the body out here, and once you've got it wrapped, you slide it in here and seal it off. This mummy's too tall. He would never fit, and this is not deep enough for the big mummy they put in there. But imagine that this person is shorter, and they're able to seal off this part right here. And then after your body has wasted away after a year, all that's left is your bones. They come in and gather your bones, put them in this bone box. Here's another one besides Patricia's head. And this is as long as your femur and as wide as your skull. So So that's why it's the shape that it is, to give you a sense of scale. That's my hand. It's pretty small. We find a lot of these over, especially in Jerusalem. They didn't bury people for very long this way, but thank God they did do it during the time of Jesus, because the description of his tomb fits this exactly. So what happened? Well, was Jesus ever sealed back in a coke? No. It says in the scriptures that they put him here, or maybe here, or maybe here. And that they were going to come back on Sunday morning after the Sabbath, and they were going to finish burying him. That's what it says. So they haven't completed the project. He's temporarily on this shelf. The sun went down. They did not have time to finish, but they got him in there. They sealed this entrance, but they didn't put him in here yet because they haven't wrapped him and put him and finished the burial. That's what the women came to do Sunday morning, is to put Jesus in one of these dark little coke, K-O-C-H, coke, plural, cocaine. Now you can kind of see there's three of them. There's 1, 2, 3 cocaine. 1, 2, 3 cocaine. 1, 2, 3, total of 9 cocaine. And Jesus would have been lying here. Now when they came in, it says they stooped to come in, and when they came in, they saw the linen cloths lying where they'd laid the body. So all they saw was the cloths. He was gone. And this is a nice way of kind of trying to picture what this one now. Of course, this cave would not be open like this. This is open so that public can come by here when they're touring and see what it looked like on the inside. But Jim Fleming has done a good job here. He's got these 3 bone boxes here, and here, and here. And you've got the preparation or mourner's bench. You can sit here and be a mourner. You know, like I could come here and visit my dead relatives, and just sit here on this little bench. And let me turn around. So I can just, yes, there's the deceased, and here I am, the mourner. But she wouldn't be out here. If she had been buried sometime in the last year, she would be in one of these. One of these right here. These are coke. Patricia, I want to sing a song for you.
A song? I'm dead. Low in the grave he lay, Jesus my Savior, waiting the coming day, Jesus my Lord. Up from the grave she rose, with a mighty fire on his bones. She rose, the victor from the dark domain, and she lives forever life and sings to reign. She arose, she arose, hallelujah,
Christ.
Trisha, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah, hallelujah, she rose.
So does this help, Patricia? I mean,
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, the visual, you've been putting this on the screen for a long time in your teachings and your Bible studies about what this looked like. But being here, it brings to life for me what you were talking about. And now I can understand exactly what happened with Jesus, with the tone, what it looks like when the women came to move the stone and to check on him, to finish the burial. It just making so much more sense for me, seeing this and being here. So this is really powerful. I'm grateful for this experience. Very, very grateful. Very helpful.
there is a tomb in the Syrian chapel at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and part of it's destroyed by the wall of the church and stuff, but they found it, and it's sort of the tomb next door to Jesus. It looks exactly like this. In fact, I'm pretty sure Jim Fleming had that one in mind designed when he designed this one, even though that one was smaller and narrower. It was, I think the one in Jerusalem is 2, 2, and 2 for a total of 6
Okay.
instead of 3, 3, and 3. But there are plenty of them that are 4, 4, and 4.
Okay.
You know, there are bigger ones.
Were they basically for families?
They seem to bury families together. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking if we were back in the day and with my large family, we'd have to have maybe 6, 6, and 6, or 20, 20, and 20.
Well, you know, they do have some big ones, but they're more royal tombs than, you know, and priestly tombs. Those are the ones that could afford this kind of tomb. Joseph of Arimathea clearly had money. Well, the thing is that Jim is trying to take his years of lecturing in Jerusalem. I studied with him when I first got started, and he's trying to take what he has learned in his years of study and working in part with Bargill Pixner and other people over there who've written famously and put a lot of the things you heard today together.
Well, wherever he is, I want to thank him.
He had an entrepreneurial way about him that it would take a lot of money to put something like this together, and he was able to garner the resources to bring in all these rocks and have all these things designed. You know, obviously you have to pay a lot of money to do something that's as elaborate as this place is.
at the beginning, we were laughing about it when we first came in today out by the signs. We didn't know what to expect.
Well, I thought I was going to Six Flags over Jesus or something here. I really didn't know.
This blew my mind. And, I'm sorry. I'm laughing.
It's strange that this is, you know, an hour and a half from, where are we, an hour and 15 minutes from Atlanta?
It's just crazy. I had no idea that this was here.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So, you can see that when you come through the tomb entrance where the Rolling Stone is, you know, and then you come up here and you're standing with table to your left and table to your right, a table in front of you for laying a body.
Careful.
So there's the one on the left and there's the one on the right, and there's the one she's sitting on. Once you've prepared the body out here, you slide it back in.
And this is what they call the mortis bench.
And it's like a preparation table and combination preparation table and mourner's bench. Yeah. Yeah. And then once the body decays, when it's sealed in here, then a loved one would collect the bones, put them in the ossuary, and they can leave the ossuary here. That's what a lot of them did. They just left them lying around, you know, in the tomb, or they might take them home.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people today bring mom or dad home and their ashes home in an urn. Well, this is sort of a first century Jewish type urn kind of thing. Yeah, and if Jesus had been fully buried, he would have been wrapped and put in one of these, and it's sealed in one of these coke, but he wasn't. He was lying. Peter, who was it, John, that stooped and looked in and saw that the cloths were lying where the body had been laid. Well, if he'd been sealed in here, he wouldn't have seen a body. The only way you could see a body is if the body was still out here on the preparation table, right?
She rose, hallelujah. Patricia arose.
Oh,
Very, very good.
You like that, Mike?
Yeah. Y'all put some work into that.
Yeah, we did. We thought it was going to be Six Flags Over Jesus, but it turned out to be an old colleague of mine who was the precursor to my dean, my boss in Jerusalem, who ran the Jerusalem Center for Biblical Studies. That was Dr. Jim Fleming who ran it. And then I met him and studied with him, and then he left while he was building that thing down in LaGrange, I guess. And he left the Jerusalem Center, and Charles Page took over, and he hired me. that's how I got started. And then they had trouble. And of course, we had all the intifadas going on over there. And then I went on with Peter Miano with the Society for Biblical Studies, which I'm really happy to be a part of. They do good work over there. Yeah, so how about that video, Ian? How about that video? Bill Grubbs, thanks for being here tonight, y'all. And
imagine their shock when he was risen.
yeah, imagine their shock when he was risen. Yeah, I mean the scriptures describe them as not believing. Every one of the gospels say that they didn't handle Jesus' resurrection well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it does. It kind of helps give you a picture of what is really meant by the things that they saw, and you know what they were expecting to see, and you know, I just hadn't had a picture like that before.
Well, like I said in the video to Patricia, I said, look, you know, I can do it on a PowerPoint and show you pictures many times, you know?
Yeah.
I can show you this picture of the actual Coke tomb next door to Jesus's in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is the actual tomb next door to Jesus's.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put it, it's on a PowerPoint. I'm just going to show you the picture, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to do a little share screen here. And you can see that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Patricia lying in the Coke tomb on the preparation table or mourner's bench in front of the 3 cocaine there in the middle. So now let me show you this. Okay, so here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different rolling stones over first century tombs from the time of Jesus. And they only made tombs like this for less than 200 years. They buried people like this in Israel, following customs in the Mediterranean more than Jewish customs or Judean or Israelite customs. But only rich people did this. Remember when it says they rolled the stone away? Jesus said, roll the stone away. When he raised Lazarus? Well, that's a rich man. Only rich people had tombs like this because you had to hire artisans to go in there and carve them out of the soft limestone that was abandoned by the quarrymen that were there 1,000 years before. Yeah. So there was a quarry there to build Jerusalem. They abandoned the quarry because they ran out of usable limestone. It was not of the quality that they could use for the temple and other buildings in Jerusalem. So they began making tombs out of them because it's soft, it's easy enough to do, but you have to hire somebody to make them. Look how it would require someone with great skill to carve out these caves and burial coke, right? Now,
I see Dale coming on.
Oh, good. So here's what's called the Tomb of the Kings. It's also from the 1st century. Notice that it's bigger and more elaborate. It has dozens of these coke and at several different levels. They're not even all listed here, but the Queen of Idiabene, her name was Queen Helena of Idiabene. She lived in Jerusalem near the temple. This was, I think it was 2nd century, early 2nd century. And she had tombs made for her whole family, and that's what it looks like. And you can go there and visit it today. And there's your preparation table. If you notice, I'll use the cursor. Here's your preparation table on the left, preparation table in front of you, and then a number of kokim. All right. Now that one is in North Jerusalem. It's near the Garden Tomb, which is in no way authentic. That's, I think, what we're referring to, what I think Fleming was going after a replica of this, but make it bigger with 2 kokim to the left over here, 2 kokim in the front, and 2 to the right instead of 3, 3, 3. Yeah, and see, this is where you walk in, and this is hidden behind a wall. Now, why is it hidden behind a wall, and where are all the other tombs? They removed them when they created a new wall in 44 AD. I can show you that, by the way. When they created a new wall in 44 AD, they moved all the tombs outside of that new wall, and all the tombs in the area were moved, and they missed this one, which is how we know it was a 1st century cemetery. And I want to show you, if I can find it. So
There's Dale.
it's in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is the tomb right here where they took the ceiling off. They took the top of the cave off so they could get down to the tomb and put that kiosk on it, which you've seen in all the pictures. You can see how they removed the hillside in order to expose it. But in the Syrian chapel, if I can find a picture of the church that shows it, where's the inside of the church? I want to see the Syrian chapel. I want to show you where it is on a map. I've got one in here. I just haven't seen it yet. Did I pass it? Where's the map? Oh, the map is here. Okay, so it's circled in red. Syrian chapel, and Jesus's tomb is just to the right, about 12 feet. They took the top off of it. They took the roof off of it. They took all the coke out, and the preparation table he was lying on, where the grave cloths are in that little kiosk. And then recently, just a couple of years ago, they got permission from the archaeologists to go in there and examine and see if there was actually a preparation table made out of limestone, carved in the 1st century as a part of this tomb complex. And it was. So this is the tomb next door. We can assume that it looks similar. So when we use that thing in LaGrange to talk about Jesus' burial, we're looking at what it looked like. It's not exact, but it's close. By design, it's identical. By size, it's close. I just wanted to show you that. That's really important. That you see that's the tomb next door to Jesus, and it proves that this was a cemetery when Jesus was there. It corroborates that this was the burial place of Jesus. Now, when he was buried, we say he was buried, but he was really sort of half buried. It'd be like going into a mausoleum, laying somebody out and coming back a day and a half later and finishing and putting him into the crypt and locking it. He's just lying out there on a table. They're waiting till they come back. They did not have enough time burying properly. They just put him in there as a kind of a holding area until they could slip him into a coke or find another tomb for him. I don't know. This is the only tomb he ever had because he rose, but they would have finished the burial if he'd been there. He wasn't. His body was never produced, and that's something that we should not neglect to mention for those interested in things like proofs. Right. So Ian, Bill. Oh yeah, look, Dale's got him a couple of coke in the background there. Is that from the Syrian chapel as well? Good. Those are the two coke in front of you when you duck and go into that coke tomb in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. There it is. And we were unable, last time I was there, we were unable to get in there because they were doing renovations and it was cordoned off. And I was very disappointed because that's one of my favorite places to go. Don't you love that place, Dale?
It's a great place to visit to get a real understanding of what a tomb probably looked like where Jesus was buried. And these two tombs here are, the city walls were inside. So this was outside the city walls during that time. So
yes,
you're looking at probably a cemetery or part of a cemetery.
Yes, you are, because there's at least 2 graves there, and we think more. But of course, they moved them all. They just happened. Thank God they missed this one. We don't know who this belonged to. We don't know who was buried there. We don't know anything about it except that it's 12 feet from Jesus's tomb next door. That's all and it's a 1st century tomb. That's all we know. But that's great proof that it was a cemetery. Step by step, when you're trying to make a case for where this occurred, that's an important point. That this Syrian chapel has a 1st century coke tomb in it next door to Jesus's 1st century coke tomb. It's proof that he could have been buried there. And it's also proof that there was a cemetery near where he was executed, just outside the gate of the city.
But why didn't they put him in the ground, you think, like we did?
Money.
Too costly?
No, it's too costly to bury like this. Only rich people buried like that. So, and he didn't have, they didn't have a place to bury him. Most people with no money would just be buried 6 feet under, just like we are, just buried in the ground.
Oh, okay.
This is a special case for someone who wants to be buried with a little more elaboration. Like you go to cemeteries, most people are just buried in the ground, but there might be a mausoleum crypts on the wall.
Yeah.
Like a little marble building, some sort of kiosk of some kind. Mausoleum where they put people.
Would there be a possibility of just burning the bodies like in the valleys, the Gehenna?
Yeah, I'm sure that they burned some bodies, especially crucified bodies.
Yeah.
That was typical. If they had remains that didn't drag off, they just toss them into Gehenna. Gehenna is mistranslated as hell in your scriptures. It's really the valley of Ben Gihon, the sons of Gehenna. That's the Gehenna Valley just south of Jerusalem. It's their dump. It's where the sewage and the garbage were burned. It's Jesus' metaphor for a spiritual death, living a life of spiritual death. Yeah. So this tomb right here, I'm waiting. That's sort of for me, that's the apex of going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And I think that about 95 to 99% of the people who go there don't even know that it's there and have never been taken to it. They don't know better. They go in there and stand in a really long line to go inside that kiosk, 2 or 3 people at a time, to see the slab where Jesus was laid, and they have a marble slab on top of it so you can't even see it. Where do I go? I recommend that if they want free time and they want to stand in line, and if they want to see Jesus's kiosk there, that's fine. Do that. But I'd rather show you the tomb next door and how this works.
Yeah. Wow.
Ian says that was incredible. I guess he's referring to the video. Haven't gotten to Jerusalem this time around. I'm spending most of my time in Gaza, then 2 days a week in Tel Aviv, but that was amazing. Well, you are having an amazing adventure too, Ian. I've never been to Gaza. You're probably seeing the horrors of war there, I would imagine. Bill Grubbs says he's surprised he hasn't heard of this place. Well, Bill, it may be because this is sort of outside normal evangelical circles for this kind of place. Because when you go to the one in Orlando, Bible Lands, it is Six Flags over Jesus. There's no archaeology. There's no museum. There's no artifacts. There's no replicas.
Yeah.
That's what this is. This is scholarship at work. I mean, it is commercial, but it is scholarship at work.
And
that's not just
one section of it.
Yeah, it was just one section.
Yeah, I mean, we saw so much more on the tour.
The tour is larger. It has a lot. The tour has a lot of other stuff that's worth seeing too, Dale.
Yeah, I mean, we just went there after the tour to do that a little bit.
Yeah, and our docent was really nice, and she talked to us for a long time. I told her who I was after the tour, and she said, "Oh, so you're a ringer?" And I said, "Yeah, sorry." You met with Jim? I said, "No, I didn't teach with Jim. I studied with Jim, and I joined his organization and began teaching for Charles Page, who was his successor, right? And now I teach for Peter Miano at the Society for Biblical Studies." Yeah, and Dale just got back, and Peter's been twice since the Gaza War started, and Dale's been once. Dale, you didn't have any trouble getting around over there, did you?
Well, it's like we said over there, if you did not know there was a war going on, you would not know there's a war going on.
Wow.
And tourism
except that the only thing that you will notice is the lack of tourism.
Yeah.
When Forrest and I went to the Church of Nativity ourselves, and we took a at the hotel, and when we went inside, except for the few people worshiping downstairs in the cave, there was nobody there, not a soul.
Well, I'm hoping that will be to our advantage also in October when we go, because it's sort of the off season. It's still pretty close to when the war started. I don't think tourism will be in full swing in October, and I think we probably will have low crowds, and that's to our advantage. It saves time. It's ease of movement for the group, getting in and out, seeing more because we're not spending so much time standing in line for the key places. By the way, we avoid all of the tourist traps and the long lines as much as possible, but there are some places where you can't avoid it. And seeing the cave in the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem is one of those. If you want to see the cave, there's normally a line, but you got lucky, Hundale. I mean, it's really fortunate that you were able to get in there quick.
Well, we didn't get to go down into the cave because they were worshiping.
You were there in the morning.
Yeah, and they do 3 worship services, and we didn't have time. But inside the sanctuary, it was nobody was there, and people who were on the journey with us had gone to the Church of Holy Sepulchre. Nobody there. I mean, there was just nobody, no tourists. I mean, it just wasn't. But the locals, you would never guess anything was going on. There was just no sense or mood, except for a few people we talked to, that there was anything happening at all.
Yeah, that's been true since I've been doing this. My first group was in '94, so that's an even number. Is that 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 30 years ago when I led my first group over there, man, really, there were things going on, but unless you saw it on the news at night, you didn't know it.
Yeah. Mm.
We also we don't go anywhere where there's trouble. I mean, they'll stop you, and we have ears and eyes on the ground. The operation is hooked in. We don't take you anywhere where something's happening.
We went to a refugee camp, and we got held up by some soldiers there just questioning us, but there's just nobody around, and even the checkpoints, we didn't really spend much time getting back into Israel when we were in Bethlehem. I mean, it was actually more interesting that we did not have to take a lot of time to do things, even getting in and out security. It was amazing how quick it was.
Yeah. Well, I hope we have that experience when we get down there.
I'm waiting for that experience in October myself. I'm excited about that.
The last one of the last groups that I did, I think it was in 2020. No, it was not one of the last trips I did. It was 2020. You remember that group from Houston? Oh man, we had some great experiences with them and getting them around. But do you know that some of the people in that group loved the Syrian chapel so much that we had to divide into 2 groups?
Mm-hmm.
And the second group said, we want to go back to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Oh, wow.
And I took groups 2 days in a row, and the first group came for the second group. So we had an even larger group the second day, and there were 60 total.
Wow.
So it was really interesting trying to get that many people in and out of that tiny tomb.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get like 6 or 8 people all crammed in there, squatting down, using my flashlight and my laser pointer to show them and explain it. But how easy and comfortable was it to do it in LaGrange,
I know.
where you're not cramped and people are waiting to see the thing and they're yelling, "How long are you going to take?" And I'm like, this is the most important thing that I'm showing them in here. Can you we came 3,000 miles, 5,000 miles. Could we just have a minute?
Yeah. Yeah, LaGrange was much easier.
And
Most of the crowd
We had it to
gone by the
ourselves.
time we did that.
we had it to ourselves, and I could do what I wanted with permission.
Mhm. Yeah.
I said, "Can we go in there and do our Easter Bible study or whatever?" And she said, "Go for it." And we had it, man. It was great. I want to thank them, by the way, and Jim Fleming and anybody else involved. That's worth the visit. I hope that you will consider going, and if you don't have the opportunity, maybe we should take a group down there sometime.
I think that'll be interesting. I think it'll be really good to do that.
Yep.
Ian has put some other stuff in the chat.
So Ian says, you won't have crowds, I don't think. Most of the war is in Gaza Strip and the tunnels under it. Correct. And when there's trouble in Gaza in the past, I could see a jet go over occasionally from Jerusalem, but Gaza's a long way. We don't go anywhere near there.
So you don't think there will be any hindrances in October, even if the war is still going on?
If nothing changes, yeah, I think we'll be fine. No, I don't think there's going to be.
I don't see any issues at all. Matter of fact, what I'm hearing Bert's kind of illustrating is a good point. It should be a much better experience going with less crowds. I mean,
We've already got a small group, which means ease of travel, and the student teacher ratio is good with a smaller group.
Yeah.
We'll be in a smaller bus, which means faster and ease of access to places that we want to go. And with the crowds down, less traffic and less lines at the places that we need to go to. That's all good news. Maybe we should shift back. We've shifted to the trip. Let's talk about the burial practice. I read that this burial practice isn't scriptural. Now, they did scriptural things in the burial process about cleaning bodies and what's clean and not clean and how to do it and all of that. But the style of tomb is literally not Hebrew. It is Roman Mediterranean. And they liked it and started adopting. It was just in vogue. And that tells you something about those people in Jerusalem, though, who were like Caiaphas and them, because they seem to be just fine with it. You would think that they wouldn't be.
Mm.
I hadn't thought of that. Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of assimilation of Greco-Roman culture with the Hebrew people to a large degree at the time of Jesus. Their hairstyles, their beard styles, their clothing, their burial styles, the styles of their houses, customs, all of that. There was a lot of Hellenizing is the word. That means Greek influence, Greek cultural appropriation by Jewish people or Hebrew people at the time of Jesus. They were appropriating that culture. It dominated. They didn't call it Galilee of the Gentiles for nothing. And they started building Roman cities. Pompeii, I think, started it in 63 BC or something like that. And they started building cities like Beit Shan, the Decapolis, the cities of the Decapolis, the 10 great Greek cities, of Galilee. There they are. Susita, Tiberias, yeah, Jerash, Gerasa, yeah, all those 10 cities of the Decapolis.
I want to hear more about the burial being incomplete.
Okay. Okay, so let's look at the chronology of Jesus's death and resurrection. He dies at about 3 p.m. They break the other soldiers' legs to hasten their death because in Jerusalem, unlike everywhere else in the world in the Roman Empire, the Romans allowed for the Jews' extreme religious sensibilities to not have defiling corpses up on a cross around the holy city when the Passover and the Sabbath start on Friday night when the sun goes down. Friday starts when the sun goes down. They've got to get the bodies off the cross before the sun sets. So they're racing against sunset to hit Jesus somewhere. They returned to bury him completely. So Joseph says, okay, I just had a new family tomb made over there. Let's just duck and put him in there. So they put him in, they put the linen cloths, they put the spices, they rolled the stone, secured it, and the women came back on Sunday morning. The stone was rolled away and Jesus was gone and the linen wrappers were there. You get it?
And Bert, I think I've heard you preach on they put the spear in his side to hasten his death too, for that purpose with the Passover coming
Well,
up.
not to hasten his death, but to it was the coup de grace to make sure that he was dead. You know how someone in war will come back and shoot the people on the ground?
Yeah.
Pretty dead?
Right.
What this was. Jesus was dead. It says they came to him and he was dead.
Yeah.
He took a spear just to make sure and stabbed him instead of breaking his legs because there was no point breaking his legs. He was hanging there limp, not breathing. A corpse looks very different from a man fighting to stay alive on a cross.
Yeah.
But the scripture said too that not a bone of his body would be
Yep,
broken.
they didn't break his bones. Didn't have to, he was dead. They broke the two criminals' bones because of their legs so that they couldn't push up to readjust themselves to get comfortable and breathe. So it hastens, it makes it much more painful, much more difficult. Hypovolemic shock is going to set in at some point
Yeah.
with that kind of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be like falling off a cliff, at a state park or something. It's not the fall that kills you maybe, but the shock that sits in later,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be hypothermia, it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, who was saying something?
I thought Mike was saying
Mike.
something.
No, I mean, I said what I was thinking.
Right.
I was thinking about the cocaine. The coke is the cocaine. Cocaine.
Cocaine is plural.
Plural. Okay. So I mean the fact that he never lied in the cocaine or coke.
He didn't lie in a coke. They didn't place him in the coke.
on the bench, the morning
Yeah,
bench.
to be completely buried. The steps are roll away the stone, take the body in and lay it on the table to prepare it for burial. That's as far as they got. So they left and rolled the stone. Ran out of time. Sun going down. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they said, well, we'll come back. And so they came back on Sunday morning. That's the chronology of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And by then he was gone.
So coke, that's K-O-C-H?
K-O-C-H. And cocaine is K-O-C-H-I-M. Cocaine.
Is that in Hebrew or?
Yeah. No, that's Greek. Well, wait a minute. No, it's Greek.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, you have to be careful how you saying that. You don't want to be talking about, people doing cocaine down in the tombs with the.
That's what it sounded like he was saying earlier.
You're from Atlanta. You're from Atlanta, and you didn't even think about the fact that the Coca-Cola company is here and invented Coca-Cola here.
Exactly.
But
And
that's
it
what
used to have that in it.
it's pronounced exactly the same way. Coke. Coke-tune.
Hmm.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
But don't go to McDonald's and order a cocaine. They won't know what that is.
Mm-mm.
We have a friend who went to a McDonald's one time, famously in high school, and he ordered a pies. He used a meaning singular, and then he plural pies. He said, "I would like a pies." And she said, "Would you like one or two, sir?" He said, "I would like a pies." So now whenever I run into Red or Tommy or any of those guys from high school band and choir, they say things like, "Oh, you're such a pies."
Oh Lord.
Only in the South do we hear.
Yeah, so Coke is an unusual name that people aren't used to, but if you want to learn it, there's your vocabulary, there's your magic word for the day. Coke and
Yeah.
cocaine.
I mean, speaking of words and language and how it's changed, how did we get from a coke or cocaine to cemetery and but we still talk about burial. We still use burial, but
I still had cemeteries in that day. There's a cemetery at Qumran with 1,000 men in it. And by men, I mean men.
where?
Qumran, where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Hmm.
Yeah. You want to say anything about that, Dale? Dead Sea Scrolls, and I know you always have your picture taken in front of Cave 4. You
Well, there is a cemetery that is filled with the bones of men, and they're all facing a different way than normal. I forget
No, they're all but a few are facing east, like you would expect for a Hebrew tomb. There are a few Bedouins buried there, but they bury north-south, and they've got beads and stuff on. We can tell that's not a Hebrew tomb, but the other ones, not so much. They clearly are probably the celibate Essene monks, or they're not monks, celibate Essene sect that wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, probably, and lived at Qumran on the Dead Sea. and hid
Right.
scrolls in the caves, and found later in 1947 by apocryphally by a shepherd boy who threw a rock into the cave and heard a jar break. So he climbed down into the cave and took the jars and started selling them. When they hit the black market, the scholars got wind of it and went and bought them from the dealers, found out from the kid's family where they found the scrolls, then went to the caves with archaeologists and found the rest of them, or at least found most of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Until we found the Dead Sea Scrolls, the earliest copies of the Old Testament that we had were 1,000 years younger. We actually found out by getting the Dead Sea Scrolls how accurately they copied the Bible. Because 1,000 years earlier, not much changed, and the changes were just mostly accidental or margin notes. They had to copy it by hand. So if they made one mistake, they had to throw the whole page away. You know, you can't make a mistake. It's got to be perfect because it's, you know, quote unquote, the Bible.
That's brutal.
So, yeah. And so there they are copying. And if they make one mistake and catch it, they have to start over.
Dale was talking about his experience with it. I forgot.
Dale, were you talking about an experience somewhere? Patricia was trying to remember what you were talking about. Talking about the cave 4 or the caves?
Yeah, I think you know something about that.
Well, you know, K4, as you mentioned, I do like to get a picture of that because K4, you know, what, 95% of the Dead Sea Scrolls was found there in that particular cave.
And including a complete scroll of Isaiah.
Why do they call it K4?
But because they number them, I think there's like 400 caves or something.
Well, there are tons of caves, but I know that they have numbered them caves 1 through 14, I think.
Yeah.
Right there at Qumran, along the Dead Sea, in those caves on those mountains of Judea. But they also found a couple of little scraps, Deuteronomy and something else, up there in the quote unquote synagogue at Masada. So as far south as Masada, they found some fragments of Dead Sea Scrolls, but most of them were found in the cave you always have your picture taken with. By the way, that's not it. Behind him is a 1st century tomb from Nazareth. That's the cemetery of Nazareth. And you were talking about cemeteries? Well, they're buried together in the ground or in rock-cut tombs. There, just like they do in Jerusalem.
How much would it cost to build one of those?
I don't know, but you know, Lazarus had one. Joseph of Arimathea had one and put Jesus in it. So they are mentioned.
When you consider the size of the rooms, this particular tomb, they call the tomb of Joseph, of course, in the convent of the Sisters of Nazareth. This tomb has 3 rooms in it. And so you think about the amount of manpower and time to go in and carve that out. In that day and age, I'm sure you would have to consider it be highly expensive to do.
You got to have money to be like a rich man.
Or if you owned a slave, then possibly, you know, slave power could have done it.
It's technically possible, you know.
But I do actually have pictures from inside there.
You should show them K4. Can you put K4 in the background?
Oh gosh, let me find it.
That should be easy since you've taken 4,000 of them.
Oh, give me a second. Let me look.
He can probably show you one from every year starting in 2000.
2009, actually.
That's when I took my mom and dad, my sister, and 2 of my kids. 2009.
All right.
Ian put something else in the chat while Dale's looking for that.
All right, let me see.
Yeah, Ian is updating us on the Hamas thing. I want everybody to read that when you get a chance.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah, it's in the comments. He's writing from Tel Aviv, Israel, about what's going on in Gaza and with Hamas and the Palestinians, etc. This is he's writing his perspective on what he's seen. He also liked our video.
I think I've got you a good picture you may like.
All right, good. We're looking for cave number 4.
Yeah, hang on. I have to meander through this Windows 11, which is no fun sometimes.
My dad had went to Israel back in the 60s, and he came back with one of those little replica jars with a Dead Sea Scroll rolled up on the inside of it as a tourist gift thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played with that in his office on Sundays, sitting on the floor.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. So, here's the thing, y'all. I mean, you all probably already had a sense of, oh, look at there, you got me.
God.
You put me at K4. There's K4, bottom between him and me, behind his left shoulder.
Okay.
Behind his right, yeah, that's his left shoulder, on our right. Yeah, that cave right there goes all the way through, and it has a hole in the roof now, because it's, it's deteriorating in the weather. But because it only rains about an inch there a year, it's protected those scrolls, it's protected the caves, they're still standing. By the way, that's called marl. That cave is in a geological outcropping called marl, and it's created by water. The Dead Sea was much higher, and the Dead Sea produced that marl that later became a cave that the Essenes put Bible scrolls in. Yeah, it was made a million years ago by water.
It's just about to cave in too, no pun intended.
Yeah, I think it's going to cave in shortly.
Wow.
Yeah, one heavy rain or bad wind or somebody walking on it wrong, they got it roped off. I mean, you're not supposed to go over there. You can't go in it.
Okay.
And
I
plus,
don't see how you could go in, to be honest with you.
you got to have a rope ladder or something to get down in there.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, it's really
Deep.
precipitous. Yes.
Of course, what you see there is, almost 2,000 years later from when when they actually probably put those containers in there.
Yep. I'm amazed that they survived all that time. That's just crazy that we were fortunate enough. We had a similar thing happen over in Egypt. And Nag Hammadi. Oh, that's better. Yeah, that's K4. And down in the bottom there on the far left, that's the Wadi Qumran. It's sometimes full of water in the wintertime when it rains or snows heavily in Jerusalem. The water comes rushing through down there, but it only does it for a few days in the winter.
Okay.
Like that video you posted not too long ago of the flood.
Yeah. When it rains in Jerusalem, the water sometimes washes out the road. Well, the bus driver was kind of afraid to go, and so were we. So we just sat there and watched some cars go when we realized it was only 4 inches deep, and we took off.
Okay.
I think we were headed from Bethlehem, the West Bank, over to down to Masada that day.
We were going to Masada, you're right.
Yeah. That must have been around 2014 or something like that.
That's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I've ever seen water like that, and all the times I've been where it was flooding that much.
The worst I saw was in the Wadi Kelt. It looked just like, it looked and sounded just like the Colorado when you're in the Grand Canyon. It was loud. And the water was chocolate colored. It was looked like milk chocolate.
Well, one year, probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4, I'm not quite sure, Wadi Hammam, the water came out of it and washed the road at Magdala.
Oh yeah. Peter told me about that. You couldn't go up to Capernaum on the main road.
Yep.
You had to go around up there by Chorazin.
Yeah, it washed it completely out.
Yeah, y'all had to go around that day, I guess. Or whoever was there. Peter told me about it. I didn't see it.
Is that because it's not well built or what?
No, just heavy rain sometimes just comes in the wintertime and washes it out. Remember, they're not like us. They have more of a monsoon type atmosphere. It's a desert, some semi-desert environment. And so The coast gets rain, but the desert, the mountains stop it. The central mountains of the Judean highlands stop it. And same reason that we have deserts like Death Valley, because the Sierra Madre stopped moisture from coming in from the Pacific. So it doesn't rain there. It's the hottest place on earth. All right, so back to burial. What I was trying to do is, with that video, is demonstrate or give you a visual image that you didn't have before. That's 3D, a real memory of that type of burial. Because now you can imagine something much closer to what's being, what's actually in Scripture. And what we actually find in the archaeological digs.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So now you got a better picture. So the whole point behind this is that when people view it, whether from Owl Rock Tonight Live or Friends of Owl Rock Tonight Live, or whether they watch the recording on Facebook or on YouTube when I put it up, is that we are putting online a record of good scholarship and good archaeological studies. We're showing you actual facts and data that move us closer to an image of what Jesus's crucifixion was like, which I shared with you last Wednesday. Go back to the last one on Jesus's crucifixion and watch that on YouTube. It's the Bert Gary channel. It's all lowercase, BERT space GARY, and you can see that as well. We know much better what it looked like when he was crucified. We know much better than the general population what his tomb looked like and why they buried people that way. Yeah. So the delay was the time crunch. They just had to get him somewhere. They had with no minutes to spare before sunrise. They had to get him somewhere, because once the sun goes down, then it's Sabbath and you can't haul his body.
Right.
Plus, it's defiling them to even touch it. So now they're going to have to go do mikvah bath and everything after handling the corpse. Yeah, there's a lot of things you don't think about when you read the biblical story, but a lot of it is there.
Yeah.
Remember, John outran Peter to the tomb and stooped and looked, but didn't go in, and he saw the grave cloths. Peter shows up second. I don't know why he's slower. Maybe he's older and fatter. I don't know. But he doesn't stop. He goes charging right in, leading to Peter, right? Charging right in, and he sees nobody. He knows where he's supposed to be because the linen cloths are there. If they had put him into the coat would be sealed and he'd be wrapped in the linen cloths. But the coats aren't sealed. The cloths are there and the body's gone.
And I wonder too, how heavy was the stone?
Oh, it's very heavy. It's very heavy, but remember it's round, and with a little lever, you can just use a little lever, a staff, to help you kind of roll it. A couple of people could do it. It's not that hard, but I can see why the women would say, how are we going to get the stone? We're going to need help because it's heavy. It's big.
Yeah.
But they didn't have that problem because it was taken care of. It was gone. It was already rolled away. Now, Matthew tells it a little differently. There was an earthquake and the stone rolled away.
Matthew's different.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthew. Matthew also said...
Matthew does a good job of convincing us that it was almost impossible to steal the body.
Yeah, because there were guards outside the tomb, and he's the only one who mentions the guards.
Yeah, there was a lot of things Matthew wanted to make sure that we knew, the writer of Matthew, that we knew it wasn't the band of thieves, the 11 sneaking in at night, stealing the body.
A resurrection, which, by the way, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Why would you risk your life and go into the temple and be arrested and beaten repeatedly for preaching a lie? No, they saw him. That's the only thing that explains it. They saw him and they didn't care what they did to him. They went from afraid people hiding to emboldened people proclaiming in about 5 minutes. That's an exaggeration, but it happened fast. Once they saw him and got over the shock, and they said they disbelieved for joy. Some believed, but some doubted. They after they got over the shock of it, immediately they're in Jerusalem, these Galileans, and they're going into the temple, proclaiming Jesus as the Messiah. And the Sanhedrin is arresting them, putting them in jail, and beating them.
Mhm.
Mm.
And if it wasn't the men talking, you've got Mary Magdalene at the tomb, and she goes and becomes the first evangelist about, let me tell you what I've seen and what's happening.
Mhm.
You know, a woman, imagine that.
They didn't believe the women. And but Mary is the only person, as far as we know in the Bible, Mary is the only person that saw Jesus crucified, saw Jesus buried, and saw the empty tomb and saw him raised. She's the only person
Mm.
Yep.
that saw all four. That says, hey, woman or not, male or not, female or not, slave or free, male or female,
Yeah.
young or old, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. Where they taking my Lord? Please tell me where you laid him.
Yeah. Now reimagine when on Easter Sunday morning when they read these stories in your
Mhm.
in your church, and when I read them on Sunday morning at my church, and Gene reads it Sunday morning if he's well. By the way, we need to pray for Gene. He's been sick, but he's a little better today, and he may be lurking right now. I hope he is. He said he was really looking forward to seeing this video. I talked to him earlier. Yeah, sorry, Gene. I'm sorry you're ill. I hope you get well soon. I understand it was pretty bad. Hang in there, brother.
We're praying.
Yeah, we're praying. Also,
Praying for you, Gene.
John Hendren's probably watching tonight, and he has been taking dialysis and probably chemo too. He's been really sick this week.
Mm.
So pray for John. And I didn't hear back from Sheila. I think she's been handling something. So pray for Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure where Kia and Heather and Sheila are tonight, but we'll check up with them. The good news is with these recordings,
Yeah.
fingers crossed, they can come back and catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything else tonight, ladies and gentlemen?
It's been really interesting. I'm so glad I went.
Yeah, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Gino made that for me.
I saw that when you showed it.
Nails
when you
through
did
the heel.
sermon.
Nails through the heels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sitting
Very
on a sedele, a seat. Arms thrown over the top of the cross to the back. Nailed through the backs of the wrists.
Yep. That is not the traditional look.
No, it's not.
But it works. And I'm all about utilitarian.
Absolutely.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't work, I ain't interested. If the position they show you is unnatural and can't physically be done,
Mm-hmm.
not interested. But I think I showed in the video last week, go back and look at it, how it was done and why. And why he can't have been crucified in the position that he is in movies and in paintings. Art and movies haven't done, and most of them haven't done any research on Roman crucifixion methodology.
Yep.
But we have, so there you go. I hope y'all have a good night. What else?
I'm going back to watch it again. I gotta see it again. I'm gonna post it.
Yeah, go back and watch it again. It's worth it. You can really get the picture of
Yeah.
this. This is the closest I know of
Mm-hmm.
to getting to what Mary Magdalene and the women saw that morning.
Mm-hmm.
To the place where Joseph of Arimathea had made a brand new tomb in which no one had been laid, a tomb for his family, and it was nearby, and they said, put him in there.
I never thought about Mary being the only person to see all of the events.
She saw them all.
That's really powerful.
Yep, she's the only disciple who saw them all.
Hmm.
That's
Wow.
I really like that. I mean, I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned it, and then all of a sudden I'm going, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, what I find amazing a lot of times about Mary Magdalene is she gets such a bad name and rap for
Yeah.
who she is or was people who of what they thought she was. You know, she's not lifted up by a lot of people as being a woman who should be respected for her position,
Yeah.
not with Jesus, but in the early church.
Mm-hmm.
And she was never a prostitute.
Right. But, you know, the evangelical world throws all that trash on top of her and almost demonizes her instead of seeing her as the real person that she
and
is.
confuses her with 4 other Marys. And combines, some of them combine all those Marys into one person.
Mhm.
Along with the woman caught in adultery in chapter 8 of John, whose name we don't even know.
Yeah.
That was Mary Magdalene too, apparently. Any unnamed woman, oh, it must be Mary.
Especially if she did the unpardonable sin.
Which she didn't. So far as we know,
Oh, Lord.
the scriptures say that she had 7 demons cast out of her, which is a way of saying that she was healed of some sort of mental or physical illness or illnesses. Okay? And there you go.
There
So
you
she
go.
was not a prostitute, she was sick.
Yeah, I would be very careful about demonizing the person that was arguably closer to Jesus than
And
anybody.
anybody else.
And
That's
on
right.
top of that, who cares if she was a prostitute?
Mhm.
Do they get grace too?
Yep.
Right.
Amen. Preach, Brother Bert.
Well,
And what about the guy that she allegedly had been sleeping with?
Mhm.
Where's he?
That's right.
Deuteronomy says kill both of them. They didn't bring him in. He's probably standing there holding the rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, heck with that. That ain't gonna sail. That won't fly. Not in this garage.
well, I think you're making an excellent point in that we pick and choose the sins that we want to condemn. And usually it's the same sins that we're participating in, but we point our finger saying you're going to wherever because of the sins you're living in.
That's
Mhm.
called judging. I thought we weren't supposed to do that.
Well,
Not according to Matthew 7.
Matthew says, judge not, lest
That's
you be
right.
judged.
You be judged.
That's because when you judge other people, you are judging.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you know, it's
it's so ironic.
when you look at personalities, lots of times the things that you can't stand in other people are the things that you can't stand of yourself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually
I
your
know.
judgments are really judgments on yourself.
Yep.
yeah.
So the best thing to do is just realize there's grace for everybody and God loves
That's
everybody
right.
no matter who you are and what you've done.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that Jesus had women disciples, and one of them was the only one who saw those key events at the end of his life and at the beginning of his resurrected ministry. She's the only one who.
I think that's
Okay,
a good
the one I love. Here's the one I love. Okay, they put Jesus in the tomb and they sealed it, and it says specifically in one of those gospels, I think it's Luke, that Mary and the other women sat outside the tomb and watched where they laid him. She was there when they put him in, sealed it, and left. And she was the first one to come back that morning.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
cool. It's really an interesting story.
It is.
Nothing to do with prostitution. It has to do with a woman who was healed from illnesses of some kind, mental, physical, we don't know. She was out of her mind or sick in body or both. And Jesus changed her life. He set her free. And instead of celebrating it, what do we do?
Persecutor.
Yeah, we malign her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But she's on the top of my list when it comes to people witnessing stuff at Jesus's death, burial, resurrection, and later appearances.
That's
She's
a message
in
right
there.
there. Mhm.
What happened to her? There are legends about what happened to her later, but and the other disciples as well. But it'd be interesting to know what happened to her.
And that's one of the most powerful messages I'm taking away tonight
What's that?
about Mary. I mean, her being present.
Think about her seeing the tomb you
At
saw
all of those.
in LaGrange. Think about Mary being in that tomb.
Mhm.
Think about Mary looking in and seeing his body. Think about her saying to Joseph, this can't be.
Yeah.
And Joseph saying, look, Mary, I'll see you on Sunday.
Hmm.
And rolling that stone and walking away. What a day, what a horrible day that must have been, that
Yeah.
Friday night. Well, actually it was, what was it, Thursday night? No,
Well, you know, what I
it was Friday night, it was Sabbath night.
and I think it's really powerful by what you're saying. What I hear is it's an amazing connection Mary had with Jesus
Mhm.
and Jesus had with Mary. An amazing connection.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
Beyond the scope of most humans, she had a connection that most people only dream of having. I mean, she experienced everything that he experienced in his life, just about from the time before the crucifixion to the resurrection and beyond. But she experienced that. She had a connection with him, and it was deeper than most people ever dream of having.
She was on the road with him for years, day and night with other women. They traveled with him. It's said so in the
Yeah.
scripture.
And paid its way to. I mean, they gave to his ministry.
They were funding it.
Mhm.
Mary, Joanna, and Susanna,
Yeah.
and some of the other women were funding the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So they had money. That means they had power. We think of those women back there as being powerless and having no agency, but they had agency.
Yep, they did.
Heck, Joanna lived in Herod's palace. Her husband was like the treasurer.
And still has power today.
Yep, even more today.
Yep.
All right, we're over time. Anything else? Okay, well, happy Easter to all of you. Oh, by the way, Friday night, there's going to be a Good Friday service at Rocky Head, and I'm going to do the opening prayer. For those of you who are local, Rocky Head is less than a mile from Owl Rock. Just go down Old Campbellton Road, down there on the side road beside the church. Turn on Old Campbellton Road. You can't miss it. We're a quarter mile ahead or less. Or, well, about a quarter mile. About a quarter mile, yeah. All right, so Friday, we'll see you Friday at the Good Friday service, and then on Easter Sunday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern for our service, and 11 o'clock Eastern for Gene Martino's service. That's Gene Martino Jr.'s webpage and the service will be at Lafayette United Methodist Church. Hope y'all have a great night.
You too.
Good to see y'all. Welcome back, Mike and Dale.
Thank you. Good to see
So,
you.
thank you, Dale. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Ian. He affirms the things that you said about Mary, Mike. You see what he wrote?
Not yet.
Cool. And he thanks us. Y'all have a blessed evening.
Yes.
We love you. Take care of yourselves.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, y'all.
See you soon.
Bye.
Mhm.